Well, greetings all. I'd like to report some good news, but I'm afraid that the Trump train seems to be further off the rails than it was the previous report that I did. Things just aren't going well for Mr. Trump and his team. We've just got the latest scandal has risen again with Mr. Hegseth, who's the pretty boy from Fox News, who's now in charge of the Defence and Security, Defence Secretary. And again, he's had another scandal, and there's a lot of dissension within the Defence Department, and things are just going off the rails. It appears that Donald Trump hasn't got a clue about delegating responsibility to people who are actually adept at their jobs. It seems as if it has a similarity to DEI in that people who aren't the best qualified are being given jobs, in this case, for loyalty, which is interesting because that's how Vladimir Putin operates. It's amazing the parallels between Trump and Putin. And of course, Putin has done that in the area of the military, and as a consequence of having a total incompetent in control of their army, they are getting their asses kicked by Ukraine, which is a much smaller country. So it just shows what can happen when you have corruption and ineptitude at the top that are basically undermining the performance of what was supposedly the second biggest military in the world. So Trump, just like Putin, appears to be just picking people who are loyal and are not particularly good at what they're doing. And this latest flare-up could lead to Hegseth finally getting the chop. And there'd be a lot of people in the Defence Department who'd be very happy about that by the sound of things. So things are not getting better for Trump. And on a personal level, the next thing that really irks me is that Trump has apparently said no to Ukraine purchasing 10 more Patriot missile systems, which are used purely for defence, to defend civilians against attacks by Russians who are always targeting civilians. For some reason, Trump is hesitating on this. The article I have up on screen here is the most hopeful for Ukraine. What I've heard from the rest of the media, though, is that that basically Trump is refusing to sell these systems, even though Ukraine is prepared to pay hard cash for them. Trump's got to bug up his ass. I think it's probably, again, because he doesn't want to upset his big buddy Vladimir Putin. But, Trump says that he doesn't want any more deaths from this war. Well, this is a defensive system. It would save lives. You're just full of you-know-what, Trump, when you say that. You have no credibility whatsoever. I'm hoping this article is correct and that it isn't a done deal that Trump has said no about the Patriots. Hopefully he will change his mind. But in the meantime, it leaves Ukraine unprotected. So get your act together and say yes to this purchase, which is good for the American economy and obviously very good for Ukrainian civilians who will be protected. So it's just incredible. Another consequence of Trump's ineptitude at diplomacy, basically putting Canada offside. He used to be the closest friend to America, and now Canadians won't even travel to America. They've boycotted the country, so tourism's taking a hit. But on top of that, more importantly, you'll notice that the Canadians have decided to say, stuff you, America, we're going to sell our oil directly to China, which isn't exactly what Trump would want. I mean, he wants to undermine China. So through his inept alienation of the Canadians, he has actually now has the Canadians sending their oil to be refined in China, as it used to go to America. America got cheap crude oil, and their refineries are very happy about that. Now the supply's been cut off, so there'll be some very pissed off people in the refining industry in America who are not getting that cheap Canadian crude. It's going to China to bolster their economy. It just staggers me how inept his diplomacy has been. He's also alienated all of Europe, and the UK is getting pretty fed up with him. I can't believe how badly he's handled things. I mean, it's like you would write a Stephen King novel for Armageddon, and this is the type of leadership you'd have to push the whole world over the edge, because America is on the brink of a recession, and the only good thing about all that is the demand for oil will drop, and the money for Putin's war machine will dry up as far as his oil revenue is concerned. It's a third of the Russia's revenue, and if the price of oil drops to below $50 US a barrel, there's they can't make a cent out of the oil that they're pumping in Russia. It's more expensive to extract oil from Russia than it is in other parts of the world. So if they go below the $50 price point, they're stuffed. So that's good, but I'd say it's inevitable we're going to have a recession. The tariffs, aka taxes, that Trump in his wisdom has imposed upon everybody, including allies and friends like Australia, of 10% is going to lead to inflation. Inflation is going to hurt the MAGA base more than anybody else. It's going to undermine the economy. What you'll probably have is stagflation now, which will be inflation with higher unemployment at the same time. The worst of both worlds. So well done, Donald Trump. It looks as though you have really undermined the world and the US economy with all these ridiculous moves. Of course, the other thing to remember is that the punitive tariffs against China are now selective. On certain products like iPhones, he's not imposing tariffs. He's actually on certain electronic equipment, he's allowing to come in without tariffs. So it's a very selective Swiss cheese approach to tariffs. And a tariff, look, it's a fancy word, but basically what it ends up being is a tax. Once these goods are landed on American soil, they're hit with an additional charge of a couple of 100%, I think is the latest figure, because there's basically a trade war taking place now. It's just unbelievable. Look, I'm really hoping those patriot systems do get to Ukraine. I'm hoping that America doesn't cut off the security feeds for the Ukrainian military, but you just can't tell what Trump is going to do. He is so erratic, so emotional. He's a powder keg, basically, and you don't want that with the world's most powerful leader. As I say, I think his days are numbered. He cannot keep going on like this, and one way or the other, we may see the end of him within 12 months. So fingers crossed, because it'll be a day when we can all party and get back to some level of stability, because this is madness. Yes, I just want to add that I've also got the Rasmussen tracking poll up there, and it actually has improved for Donald Trump, which I find extraordinary. I don't quite understand. I'm using Rasmussen's tracking poll because Rasmussen is a conservative polling organisation who were very accurate with the last election. So I think it's fair enough to use them, but we've got to be consistent. And I'm stunned that he had a negative 15 just after the tariffs were announced, and now it's gone back to a negative 2, which for Trump is actually quite good. I don't get it, because I've heard about other polls that are saying now that the Republicans are their favourability regarding running the economy is now less than the Democrats, which has never happened before, because the Democrats have always been regarded as irresponsible when it comes to running the economy. But now, because of Trump's chopping and changing, confusing people and causing lots of worry, he's now, the Republicans are now regarded as not as good at running the economy as the Democrats, and that is a historical flip. So that's something to take into account when you're looking at this fairly benign poll from Rasmussen. But I still want to show it to you because I'm going to follow it right throughout and we'll see how it goes. The other thing is, please, if you found something useful in what I've said, could you please give me thumbs up, comment, and of course subscribe. I've actually have had an increase in subscribers, and my last travel blog actually did very well. I don't quite know why, but I can never pick it. As a creator, I've got no idea why one video is more popular than another, but I do appreciate everybody's support, and I hope that you found this to be a reasonably balanced view of what's going on with the Trump administration. As I've said to you before, I was once, just not that long ago, a pretty enthusiastic supporter of him. I've been extremely disappointed in the way he's handled the economy and handled Ukraine, but I still applaud his stance on the DEI stuff, the woke, anti-woke sentiment, and things like defining men and women in a traditional sense rather than this wacko system that comes from the universities. I applaud all that, but he's got a lot of issues and I can't see him surviving. But that's just my opinion. Tell me what yours is.